this Eclipse Aftershock got you feeling split? If so, stay tuned. I'm going to share with you 3 concepts that can help you shift into your higher and newest dimensions. Fellow flames, in case we haven't met, my name is Dr. Harmony, and I will help you live fearless, live loved, and live free. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 concepts that can help you shift through this post-eclipse aftershock that we've just experienced here in June 21st of 2020. The 2020 year, right? The year of clear vision, and the year of many deaths and transformations within itself, and we're only halfway through. So many people are feeling stuck right now. In a sense, they're feeling split between realities, split between worlds, split between their higher self and their lower self, in a sense of that coming back to earth, having awakened to more knowledge, more wisdom, and more truth. And now in reality, kind of landing the plane and trying to learn how to reintegrate all of this information that you've gained, and then embody that, and then bring that into your life as you go forward, as we become a little bit more physical in our actions, in a sense that we're bringing our reality into alignment with that vibration. So you may be feeling torn right now, and one of the first things I want you to know is this timeline between now and the full moon coming on July 5th, as well as Mercury in retrograde, is sort of like the cleanup work and the aftermath of what we've just been doing with this huge shift in energy that's going to be shifted. The universe has stepped in, and it's sort of course correcting our direction towards the higher soul blueprint that we came here to experience, in a way that we can't actually make a wrong choice at this time, even though there are a lot of choices to be made, and we're still learning, on our personal development and our spiritual growth. That will always take place, but we're in the new environment as far as the new energy and in the new earth. And so at this point, it's about reaching and ascending to the highest version of ourselves. And that creates a transition. That creates the split in what I call being stuck in rebirth, meaning we're going in and we're having that shaman's death multiple times, most of us, in this dimension of what we've been doing in this really deep soul work. And so many people are still actually doing that really deep soul work. But it's requiring now a lot of letting go. And if you haven't already done so, because right now what you really need to do is create the space to bring in the highest version of your destiny, basically. And this will also not only require letting go, it will also require that you take some intentional action and put intention behind the actions you take. So it's not even going to be necessarily about the action, because so many people are also fearful of taking action, afraid they'll make the wrong choice of what they've done in the past. And so they're hanging on to the past experiences, blocking them from making new choices in fear of repeating things. And what you got to realize is this is about integrating and bringing neutrality to your opposite ends of who you are and who you've been, and the polarities of that. And so you're swinging the pendulum. And I usually talk about this, say, being on one side of this fence, and say you're needing to let go of maybe some mind limitations or your responses to how you act and react to the triggers that is occurring, to purge your trauma and to really transform that trauma. But on the flip side of that, as you start to let that go of the thoughts, feelings, the actions, and you begin to create and implement those new actions, those new thoughts, and the new versions of yourself, you move to the other side of that fence. But then you got to remember, it takes both sides of this to equal you. You're only expanding in this shift, and you're only, going to the new dimensions of this. However, what most people think is in this ascension process that you're moving above and beyond your old limitations, or say your old self, or let's just say your traumas and your shadows, and that you should now be an enlightened being and never experience that. And that is not the case. You are an angelic light being, light worker that came here to transcend those shadows, to learn and open a portal to something new and better and different. But those parts of you, those fragments that are your shadows or your limitations, your weaknesses, they're still going to exist in you. And so because of that, you need to learn to accept them. You need to learn to integrate with those and honor them and let them be a part of you, and stop fighting, thinking you've got to let go of these old ways that you think you're going backwards now. So as I repeat that, then you're on one side of letting go, you're on one side of opening up to the new. And when it comes to integrating those two, the old self of yourself and your new identity, and integrating that in, you're going to have a mix of all of that. And you're fighting the integration in yourself. You're expanding, but then you're fighting this integration, and it's creating a split here on one side or the other, thinking it has to be this or that, when really it's both sides of you. And so therefore, in this process, as you also do then go up in your enlightenment and your wisdom, and you're embodying that highest truth that you came here to experience, that's your belief system, not the belief system of others that we've taken on from our family curses and generational culture or cultural conditions and society, then we've been trying to discern between that, let go of what we've been templated or imprinted with, to create our own truth and our own wisdom, that we're tapping into the higher self and the higher soul. And as we bring that in, so to speak, then we need to allow ourselves the grace to flow through this process. And that will help us bring some clarity to some of the chaos as we integrate both sides of this, and realize that this feeling of being stuck is really our own self getting in the way and blocking us from being all that we are. So the first thing that you can do that will help you merge the split and merge between your sides of who you are is to transform your traumas during this time. As I said, this is still an inward time. This is still a time to be doing, to be more of this integration versus the doing that will come a little bit more for the intentional action after this Mercury retrograde next month. So basically, you are still purging fears. So the fears are still coming up. The traumas are still being triggered. And this is where I was saying you're trying to cut them out of yourself and not face them. You are therefore not realizing that those traumas are and will always be a part of you, in a sense that the trauma, I guess, could be gone, all right? The experience, the attachment to the past. However, the emotion that you have embodied, that trauma triggered within you to awaken some feeling, some connection to more of who you are, of seeing, say, your shadows, and say, like, for instance, in my case, I've never been a super angry person. And so things have happened along this journey to help trigger anger in me, to awaken to that anger. It's something that is numbed inside of ourselves, that we've either been, say, hyper, over angry, or under angry. Okay, not angry at all. And we're trying to find some allowance of allowing the process to unfold, to let us experience and feel anger when we need to, so that we're not cutting off that side of ourselves and we're not blocking our lower density energy that as long as we are human, we will experience. So the minute you can allow that emotion that's being triggered from the traumas that we've had, and then allow that energy to be a part of you, you can then see that density and love that density of that lower shadow as part of you, and that will allow it to transmute, that will allow it to fade away, that will allow you to then shift higher into like a higher vibrational thought, feeling, or emotion, rather than hanging on and resisting and blaming and sabotaging yourself because you're not enlightened enough. And you're trying to rush this process as if there is some destination to arrive to, when this whole process is unfolding before your eyes, and it will never stop and it will never end. And it's not about that destination. It's about this journey that you're allowing yourself to flow in and out of where you are whenever you are there, and accepting that part of yourself. So really, I guess to really sum that up and really hone in, when you have any type of a fear or a low density energy, you need to love it. You need to look at it in the face and say, what are you teaching me? Why are you here? How can I love you? How can I do something different next time? What is my takeaway from this? So that you let it be a part of you, which will again transform it into the low density to a higher density. And then you stop being stuck in the chaos of the confusion of, I shouldn't be this way. So the second thing that will help you integrate and merge the split between you during this time is to focus on transcending your thoughts. This is a perfect thing for you to do right now as you're going inward. And here we go again, talking about how we cut off the shadow and the density sides of ourselves. We try to look at our ego and say that ego is wrong. The ego, we shouldn't even have an ego. We try to cut it out and we never hear it, and it wants to be heard. And until we are patient enough, kind enough, loving enough of ourselves to listen to our feelings and our thoughts with the love I mentioned, we need to honor that ego, at least if nothing else, for the moment. This will help us feel heard. This will help us be able to then shift from the head logic into more of this heart language, to then be able to integrate all sides of ourselves. So you have to realize what's happening here is so many things that's beyond this dimension when we're processing these thoughts. We have our subconscious memory that, is holding all of the pain, all of the triggers of the timelines of every life that we've been in, all of our childhood programming, and then, all of these subconscious things that we have not faced, that we've stuffed emotionally, that are remaining as triggers that get triggered within us to suppress, or we've suppressed these emotions, and now we got to feel them coming up and out. And then what it's doing is between our right brain and our left brain, we're trying to integrate between that knowing inside of us and the reasoning of our mind that will always be there as a human being. And therefore, again, we need to honor that. So we're pulling up these memories. We're awakening to the stuff that we need to see so that we can view it again, so that we can then go in, number one, transform that trauma or that energy from the lower density of it to a higher density with the love. So we're purging from these thoughts and bringing up the subconscious memory into the conscious mind of that right brain, left brain reasoning and knowing, to integrate how we feel about what is our truth in that now going forward. On top of that, it gets even deeper. We have our soul memory our super consciousness, our Akashic records, our soul template, and the blueprint of all the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding that we came here to implement within our life, to integrate with that information so we can implement it into action and bring into form the purpose within ourselves that we came here to deliver as our message into the world. And that is all happening at the same time. So we're bringing in all this wisdom that's above where we can see consciously, because all of that is higher, coming from a higher perception than our human mind can conceive. And therefore, what our truest nature is of going forward, and how and where we take our action and how we make our choices, that to arrive to the soul direction of our soul's mission is bigger than what our conscious mind can see. But we're still trying to analyze it. We're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to move in a direction that says we want to be in control. And then we're pulling out of alignment with that. And then when it comes to our actions, then we're having trouble letting go of that past memory, the past story, and the things that is keeping us, as I said, on two sides of that fence as we shift, that's holding us back and holding us stuck on that one side of the fence, as our transcendence of these thoughts is going to the other side. And now we got this inner battle going on inside of us that needs to come into this neutrality, this harmony, and this allowing. So if you can honor that ego for a moment, and you can bring those thoughts and hear them out and bring them from your mind's eye into your heart and into your knowing. And for instance, if it's, I use this a lot with clients in my program, is, usually the number one thing is people don't feel good enough. So, but that's a personal lie. So bringing that in through the mind and bringing that into the heart and the knowing to be like, I'm deserving, I'm worthy, I have done my duty here. I deserve to receive my rewards now. I deserve to experience love. And especially on this twin flame journey, experience divine partnership in a sense that you can be and have and experience the love that we as twin flames came here to do. That, of course, we got to master the self-love, but then we're deserving to experience it in harmony with everyone in our life. And so we got to then bring that ego really into our knowing and be like, no, I am more than enough, and I deserve this love, and I deserve this type of relationship. And that's what we came here as twin flames to do, is retemplate these relationships. But then make your responses and your actions coming from your heart, but not your head and your ego, but allowing your ego to come through to voice its side. It's like you got a dialogue going on inside between your head and your heart, and you're not going to get rid of either one. Remembering that it's the heart template that has a higher vibration to express those emotions, and that outward energy is higher than the mind frequency. So we're trying to shift, you could create all day long some good things from your mind, but the vibration of your mind is a lower vibration than your heart will ever be. So you're trying to connect to your heart in this split so that you can then harmonically align with all of this destiny that you came here to experience. So the third thing that you can do to come on through this split that you have into coming into balance with the integration of both of your sides of who you are, you need to learn to trust your decisions. Because of this split, you're going to always, in every situation, especially right now as you're letting go of the lower based limitations and connecting to all of your, and integrating with all of your higher version of your higher self and your new way to do things, you basically, in that, are going to be presented with two decisions, a right and a left. And this is where so many people get blocked in fear of making the wrong choice. And then they doubt. And so, it's about even overcoming the doubt and realizing that, and I'm always saying, you cannot make a wrong choice. But then people, ask me like, well, if I can't make a wrong choice, then like, what is the point of, how do you actually get to some level and layer of that necessarily the destiny? So one of the things, just to kind of clarify that, the destiny is more an unfolding process. So it's not about, like, I should say the destination of the destiny is more of an unfolding process. It is not about arriving to one definitive place. The place is always unfolding, and that it's about the journey of how you get there. And the journey about how you get there is being presented with these polarities of yourself, of the opposite and contrast of who you are, from the fear to the love. And then being able to, as I said, integrate both sides of that. And as you do that, then, you're integrating and embodying the new stuff. And then you're learning how to stop suppressing the old stuff or allowing the old stuff to limit you, but to then do, as we said, transform those limitations from one side of you to the other side of you, so that you have a way to constantly shift and maneuver through this flow that's always going to be going on. So finding the flow in your contrast, in your sides, not cutting out one side or the other. And so to do that, like when you make these choices, try to stop second guessing yourself. Try to go with what you're feeling in the moment as far as what you're at peace with, what brings you power, and then stop analyzing how that's going to affect necessarily the outcome. But what you want the outcome to really be focused on is the long-term happiness that you really desire. And to realize that this is progress, not perfection. And that you will always, again, have these things coming through. So much stuff is just happening, I know, all at once. And to realize that when you go to make, here's the key in this, when you go to make the decision from those lower based decisions you've made, or those lower based fears that you're faced with, to decide how, when I take my intentional action, can I move from this side to this side and shift through that. It is making a choice, not only about what makes you feel good in the moment, as I mentioned, but taking that one step further is what is going to align with your highest good. Is it really that, say, for instance, you're presented with a choice that it isn't maybe triggering an old pattern that you have, the old thoughts, the old feelings? Well, if you need to continue to trigger those traumas to release that suppressed, purged fear, so that you can transmute it and then transcend it into that higher energy, then you need that route in order to purge that up, to bring it to the light, to transform it. But you also have the ability in this newer wisdom, this newer truth, to say, that I want to bypass that. I want to step out of the loop of constantly being triggered. And so I want to move towards what's bringing in the highest version of me. And I want to choose that which is going to take me in a direction of my highest truth and highest good. And I'm going to make my actions based on that. And this is practice. And as you do this enough, when those decisions come in, you start to be able to really kind of categorize it. Is this coming from my lower self or my higher self? Is this going to take me towards the direction of my highest version of me, which is also your highest timeline, which is also how I've been shown you can basically jump those jump timelines into like the lower density ones into like the higher timelines. This is also about honoring your greatest truth in this. As we said, we're bringing in that wisdom and you're recreating the truth of who you are. So if you're like really opening up to your version of your belief system and what resonates for you, not what you've been programmed with, you're going to begin to, over time, start to feel that truth come from a place of power. And I would say empowerment. Because, a lot of people run from their own power as well, and they think power is ego. And so then they stay limited into the lower vibrational aspect because they're afraid to bring and claim in their own power. And so this is really the journey here. This is about learning to choose choices that are going to move you to the right direction. But know that if you happen to need an additional lesson or need something that needs cleared, to create the space to bring in the new, because it's being a limitation still, it needs to come up to the light to purge it, to transform it, and to transmute it, to then be able to take you into more dimensions of the newer version of you. So again, your split is only you deciding you're one or the other, and that you're wrong if you're in low density and you're heading to this destination that says you're an enlightened being and will never experience your shadows. And again, that won't happen. So the sooner you can come into the flow of this, the acceptance of this, and learn how to navigate it, and then be aware of the divine's intervention of course correcting you, that will now in this energy lead you to more of the highest good of who you are. All right? This is such a beautiful time. It is exhausting and it is tiring. So honor yourself during this time. This is the perfect time to find the self-love by saying, I can be here right now and I can love all of me by loving my shadows and my light. And if you're really needing to learn how to reprogram these templates, these subconscious programming that you've been programmed with, check out my Reprogram Your Childhood Wounds, and so that you can stop attracting people and partners, triggering those core wounds, so you can experience loving relationships in all areas of your life. There'll be a link below. Module 1 is free, so make sure to check that out. Check out these videos over here about my detachment series, and then make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to like, comment, share the shine, and let me know how this aftershock is affecting you. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.